The desert sun was unrelenting, baking the earth beneath their boots. Dust clung to every surface, rising in thick clouds with every step the patrol took through the war-torn village. Captain Alina Grant led her unit with a kind of calm that only came from experience. Her voice, steady through the radio, coordinated movements with precision. Her eyes, sharp, scanning, decisive, missed nothing. Until everything changed. A child cried out from behind a crumbling wall. Alina raised her hand. "Hold!" Her team stopped. She stepped forward, cautiously, her instincts honed by years on the front line. "It's okay," she called gently. "We're here to help." And then, an ear-splitting explosion, a searing flash of light, and silence. When Alina awoke, everything was dark. Not the kind of darkness that comes with night, but an empty void. She blinked. Nothing. She moved her hand to her face and felt the thick bandages wrapped around her eyes. "You're lucky to be alive," a voice said softly beside her. She turned her head, wincing. "What happened to my team?" "They're safe. Minor injuries. You took the worst of it. Shrapnel. Hit your face. Your eyes." She said nothing. Just breathe. In the weeks that followed, Alina endured more pain than the battlefield had ever offered. Not from her injuries, but from the weight of what she'd lost. Vision. Independence. Command. She was discharged with honors, medals gleaming in a box, and silence echoing louder than ever. Home she learned to walk again. Count steps. To listen, to feel, to sense what sight had once told her. But more than anything, she learned to carry her past without bitterness. The first time she bumped into a wall, she laughed instead of cried. The second time, she counted her steps more carefully. Every misstep was a lesson, not a defeat. Her world had changed, but her will hadn't. She remembered the silence in the hospital, the hushed voices outside her door, the visitors who didn't know what to say. But she also remembered the nurse who took her hand, the fellow veteran who sat beside her and simply listened. Those small moments mattered. She didn't want pity. She didn't need saving. Because she was still a soldier, just fighting a different kind of battle now. This was no longer about war. It was about reclaiming dignity in a world that couldn't see past her cane or her silent gaze. Captain Alina Grant may have lost her sight, but she had never seen the world more clearly. The rain had just stopped when Alina arrived at the grand marble entrance of the Lexington Hotel. Her coat was neat, military style and gray. Her hair, now longer, was tied into a low bun. A white cane tapped steadily before her with each step. The gala was already underway, glittering lights spilling through the tall glass doors. She paused at the threshold, hearing laughter, clinking glasses, and the faint notes of a string quartet. The scent of perfume and polished marble hit her all at once. She took a breath, straightened her posture, and walked in. Almost instantly the chatter dipped. Just slightly. Just enough. A woman near the registration table leaned toward another. Is she here to volunteer? Or did she just walk in by mistake? A man added under his breath. She can't seriously be attending, not like that. Alina approached the check-in desk. The young woman behind it offered a rehearsed smile, but it faltered when she noticed the cane. "Hello. This is a private event. Do you need help finding someone?" "My name is Alina Grant," she replied calmly. "I believe I'm on the guest list." The receptionist blinked, clearly unsure. She awkwardly scrolled through the list, scanning names. After a pause, she found it. "Yes, you're on the list. Welcome." "By course. Welcome." But the damage was done. Whispers followed Alina as she moved slowly through the crowd. Her cane tapped against the marble floor, each sound drawing subtle glances. People parted in polite avoidance. She passed glittering gowns, designer tuxedos, and diamonds that caught the chandelier light. To many, she simply didn't look like she belonged. Someone murmured, "Do you think she's here for the veterans' charity part?" Another laughed softly. "Maybe she's one of the cases." Alina's jaw tightened, but she kept moving. She found a seat near the back, quiet and out of the way. She sat with her hands folded, her face unreadable. But she heard everything, every careless word, every insincere toast, every patronizing chuckle. What no one realized was that the gala's primary donor had arrived, without needing to be seen. She had asked the organizers to keep her identity discreet, not because she was ashamed of who she was, but because she wanted to witness the truth. The raw truth of how people treat those they think are beneath them. The night would go on. Awards would be given. Names would be read. And then, Alina's name would echo across the room. The ballroom buzzed with excitement. Servers moved like clockwork between tables, refilling wine glasses and offering delicate hors d'oeuvres. Crystal chandeliers bathed the room in golden light. From her quiet seat in the back, Alina sat with her chin slightly lifted, listening. On stage, a well-dressed man tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin the awards, we'd like to take a moment to recognize someone truly special." A polite hush fell over the crowd. This evening's gala, and the new veteran support initiative we're announcing tonight, would not have been possible without a silent force behind the scenes. A person who asked for no spotlight. Someone who knows the cost of sacrifice firsthand. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Faces turned unsure. Our largest donor. A former captain. A woman who continues to serve. This time not with weapons, but with wisdom and compassion. Please welcome Captain Alina Grant. The room went still. Then gasp. Audible sharp. Heads turned toward the back. Rose. Her cane tapped against the marble floor. Step by step she walked forward. The very same woman who had been ignored, whispered about, subtly mocked. The one no one had offered a seat to. Now she moved through the silence like a tide. People shifted awkwardly in their seats. Some stood, clapping hesitantly. Others looked away, ashamed. Alina reached the stage. An aide offered an arm, she declined it gently. She found the podium by touch, then rested both hands on it. "I wasn't sure I would come tonight," she began, her voice clear. "I've learned that people often see only what they expect to see. And I no longer fit their expectations." She paused. Silence listened. "I've worn medals, yes. But they never told the whole story. The real weight I carry isn't visible. It's in every step I take without sight. In every room I enter, knowing I'll be underestimated." A woman near the front bowed her head. A man clenched his jaw. "But let me be clear," Alina continued. "I am not here for your pity. I am here to remind you that dignity is not about what you wear or what you see. It's about how you treat people when you think they have nothing to offer you." A beat passed. And then the applause came. This time real. Long-standing. Tears welled in more than one pair of eyes. People who had looked past her earlier now watched with awe. Alina stepped back. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. The truth had already spoken for her. The applause still echoed in the marble halls long after Alina left the stage. The gala resumed, but the energy had shifted. Conversations softened, eyes followed her as she walked, and people who had once looked past her now leaned in, eager. Dozens approached her, some to apologize, some to praise, some to be seen near her. Alina responded with a nod here, a polite thank you there. Her composure never cracked. A journalist thrust forward, recorder in hand. "Captain Grant, may I ask?" "I have nothing to add beyond what I said on stage," she answered calmly. Flashbulbs popped. Cameras followed. Her image began spreading across social media within minutes. Hashtags trended. Hashtag real hero, hashtag silent strength, hashtag Alina Grant. A woman from the donor board clutched Alina's hand tightly. "You've inspired us all. You should be the face of this campaign." Alina gently pulled her hand back. "I didn't come here to be seen. Came to see." She made her way to the lobby, her cane tapping steadily. The sound of heels and chatter still trailed behind her. A few people called out to her, offering cards, suggestions, invitations. She nodded but didn't stop. Outside, the night air was cool and crisp. Her driver waited near the curb. The street was lit by soft amber lamps, and distant city sounds filled the silence she carried. As she stepped toward the car, a small voice called out, "Excuse me." She turned. A young boy, maybe 10, stood with his mother. He had been at the gala, one of the honored guests, a child of a veteran. He looked up at her with wide eyes. "You're the bravest person I've ever seen." Alina knelt slightly to his level, smiling. "Thank you. That means more than you know." He hesitated. "Are you really blind?" "I am. But you still walked up there. You weren't scared." She considered the question. "I was. But being scared doesn't mean you stop moving." The boy nodded slowly, a smile blooming on his face. He looked at her cane, then back up at her. "Do you miss it? Alina was quiet for a moment. "Every day. But some things I see more clearly now than I ever did before." The boy looked thoughtful, as if trying to understand something bigger than himself. Alina stood. The mother mouthed a thank you, eyes glassy. As Alina entered the car, she looked back one last time. The boy waved. She lifted her hand in return. Inside the quiet cabin, she finally exhaled. For the first time in a long time, she felt something stir beneath the grief, the weight, the silence. Not pride. And perhaps the beginning of something new. In the days following the gala, Alina's name spread faster than she could walk. News outlets called her a national treasure. Opinion columns praised her dignity. Interview requests flooded in. From morning shows to documentaries. She declined them all. No press tours. No book deals. No endorsement campaigns. Instead, she requested one thing from the foundation board: access to an abandoned rehabilitation center on the outskirts of the city. Within weeks, construction crews arrived. The facility was cleaned, repaired, repainted. But this wouldn't be just another center for veterans. This would be different. A place for blind women, wounded soldiers, survivors who had been overlooked for too long. Alina didn't want her name on the building. She wanted her purpose in its walls. She worked quietly, meeting with therapists, architects, former medics. She tested the path layouts with her cane. She approved a room by the entrance where new arrivals could sit alone for a moment and breathe. By spring, the center was ready. The opening ceremony drew a modest crowd. Some press showed up curious. Veterans, families, therapists. A small band played near the entrance. Alina arrived just before the ribbon cutting. She wore a plain gray coat, the same as always. Her hair in a low bun, her cane clicking softly against the new tiles. She didn't approach the front. She stood in the back, hands folded over her cane, listening. On stage, a young woman, also blind, also a former soldier, spoke into the microphone. "Before I was a soldier, I was invisible. After the war, I felt erased. But someone like me saw me. And that made all the difference. She built this place not for recognition, but for us." She turned toward the back of the crowd. "She won't ask for applause, so let's give it to her anyway." Everyone turned. The cameras followed. Alina tilted her head slightly, lips parting in a soft, private smile. She nodded. Not to accept fame, but to acknowledge the moment. Children ran through the courtyard. Laughter echoed off the walls. In that moment, Alina felt the weight lift. Not disappear, but shift. She had once lost everything. But here in this space, others would begin again. She turned toward the entrance, her cane finding its rhythm. A volunteer held the door. Alina paused before entering. She didn't say a word. But in her silence, one truth rang clear. She may have lost her sight. But for the first time, she was truly seen.